How important is privacy in the online world?
I think it's very important, but not in the way that a lot of people often think about it. So, from what I can tell, most people don't think about privacy explicitly very often at all. And so, if you ask them questions about it, they won't give you answers that will suggest that they care. But if you look at how people share, it's very clear that they do care in a more implicit than explicit way. So I think why people share way more in messages than they do broadcasting to all their friends is because it's a more private medium. What I message you is different than what I'm going to say to 150 followers. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be very thoughtful about what I say in a private message thread versus what I say in a story that's going to be gone tomorrow versus what I'm going to say in a feed post that's going to be around forever, theoretically. And so I think if you look at how people have shifted more to stories and even more to DMs, that would suggest that privacy, loosely speaking or broadly speaking, is incredibly important. But if you ask people about their privacy settings or their data settings, there's a lot of focus on it. There's a meaningful but small minority that cares a ton. Obviously, regulators care a ton, but the average person doesn't seem to even want to engage in that topic. But if you look at how they actually show up and use their phone and the internet, they are clearly savvy about where they share and how they share, because they share so differently in different places based on how private or public that space is.
You think it's because people don't understand the how public their information might be? Like, when you're sharing something on Instagram, people can see it. But when you sign up for a service, the idea that the information you put in when you sign up for the service, that people can somehow access that, or that you could get on a list of someone to be advertised to, for example.
Yeah. I think part of it's because it's more complicated. So, but I also think that most people simultaneously don't understand the details of the technology, but do understand the broad shape of it. If I use Instagram and I mostly talk about baking and share baking and look at baking things, I don't think people are surprised when they see baking ads. But how that works exactly behind the scenes, is that a pixel tracking system? Is that a interest inference system? Is that data Instagram's data, or is that an advertiser's data? That gets too complicated too quickly for most people to want to engage. But if they feel like their privacy is violated in some way, then yes, then I do think people get quite upset. But I do think fundamentally, and this is a controversial opinion, that we just believe in personalization. I grew up watching TV and seeing ads for cars, and I couldn't afford one, nor was I old enough to drive, or ads for tampons, and which made no sense. I get ads on Instagram, and I know people don't always love ads, but sometimes I get really cool little things.
I will tell you, I always get ads for things that I want every single time. And I don't know how it works, because it's like magic.
Yeah. No, the ads team does a great job, but it's the same basic thing that we're trying to do with the core product, which is understand your interests and then help you explore them. If you look at my Explore page, you'll see men's fashion, you'll see a lot of European football, you'll see some basketball, you'll see some watches, you'll see some skiing, some surfing. And those are the things I tend to like to see on Instagram. And so when I get ads, there are things in that space. So cool dad sweatpants, or stuff that's just, and the more you use it, the better, and the more we understand your interests, and we try to show you more of what you're interested in, less of what you're not. And that is one of the big debates. Is that a bad thing? Is targeted advertising a bad thing?
It seems good, but I will say, without knowing how it works, it feels spooky.
Yeah. It feels spooky. I mean, I'm constantly being accused of listening to people. People always think that I'm like, I was just talking to my girlfriend about whatever it was, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and now I'm getting, you're totally listening. And it's no, we're not listening. You're not only a gross violation of privacy, you would drain your battery, you'd have the little green light at the top.
They told you to say you're not listening.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not allowed to say you're listening.
Actually, one of the funniest videos I've seen, I saw it on Instagram and on TikTok, was it was a woman just shot clearly from the phone sitting on a counter, and she was just, the bit was that it was her husband's phone, and she was just saying things near the phone. She's like, diamond rings. manicures, pedicures.
That's so funny.
Just like trying to hack the algorithm. And I was like, that's not how it works. I have this fight with people I know and love all the time. No, what happens is, it turns out that what you're interested in terms of who you follow and what you like in common is a pretty good indicator of what you're interested in buying. We do things like, look-alike. So like people who are interested in these same interests tend to buy these types of things, and you're interested in those interests, so you might be interested in those types of things. And then the other thing that happens that people don't realize is they actually see the ad a couple times. They don't really notice it because they're just flying by, but it's there in the back of their head, and then they end up talking about it. So all of these things add up. But I know people in my family who just don't believe me, and I will continue to try and make the case.